Hello and welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of the To The Point. I'm Khalifa and I'm going to be your host for tonight. And our topic, dear viewers, on To The Point for tonight is the tourism industry in Egypt, a very vital and important sector which contributes to the Egyptian economy. And of course, the Egyptian leadership has exerted a lot of effort in promoting this industry despite the unprecedented global emergency of the COVID-19 pandemic and of course, the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, which had some repercussions on this industry. And to know more about the latest, we're most delighted to be joined here in the studio by Dr. Alaa Khalifa, International Tourism and Marketing Expert. A very good evening, Doctor, and thank you so much for joining us.
Very good evening. Thank you, and thank you for hosting me.
It's all the pleasure is ours, sir, to have you. Sir, first of all, if you can walk us through the status quo of the industry as we speak.
The industry have been badly affected by the Russian-Ukraine war, and which caused a decline in number of tourists, especially coming from this part of the world. There's a lot of attention worldwide nowadays, so it's normal that it's affecting tourism. Tourism normally it's an industry for peace, and it gets affected by any ongoing war or conflict that could be really also affecting different economies. Because of the crisis nowadays, does not only affect on the tourism level, but also on the economic level, which means prices are flaring up, inflation rates are getting to unprecedented rates. It's all bad news for the rest of the world. Nowadays, stock markets are losing, so we are getting to a very critical point where it's all directly and indirectly affecting the tourism industry. And as a country, depending on having revenue from tourism industry and also importing wheat from Russia and from Ukraine, and so prices are flaring up. At the same time, we need hard currency in the moment, and then fewer Russians are coming and none of the Ukrainians. So we lost a bigger market share that we were anticipating to increase across the second half of the year. Because of losing that market share, we have to find a replacement and alternatives. And then we've got to come to a point where there must be alternatives. And so right now, we are revising everything, rebuilding the whole structure of full strategic plan to put back the tourism back into track, trying to get some of these market shares, trying to increase arrivals from countries that are exporting tourism to us, trying to increase connectivity between us and other destinations that have stopped during the COVID pandemic before. Different efforts are done in different directions. In a way, it helps out the economy. It increases the tourist arrivals, and help recovering some of the economical recession that is hitting us and the rest of the world nowadays.
Yes, indeed. Sir, also what about the efforts being exerted by the Egyptian government to have a full infrastructure and railways, networks, roads and networks. How does this help in reviving the industry despite being hit by this international crisis?
First of all, tourism industry needs infrastructure. If you don't have infrastructure, right infrastructure, you don't have good places of accommodation, you don't have new resorts, you don't have areas that serve tourism. And building roads, building bridges, investing in the infrastructure, not only enhancing the life of people, but also it helps out enhancing the economy to get a lot of resources, more resources of the country, and also make the image of the country in a much better enhanced in the eyes of foreign travelers. every country goes through different phases of development, and we are in a phase like we are restructuring everything, rebuilding everything, and rethinking everything. So that's what we call the new republic nowadays. And having that pattern, it is goes hand by hand with the vision of 2030. And so the vision is that we have to rebuild everything built on a very successful model. And that's what we were doing. We are enhancing the life of the people. We are making it better. We are building roads for transportation and building roads for moving commerce between different towns in Egypt. Binding different towns is very vital and very important. Also allowing ease of access, building out airports, allowing ease of access to people to come to Egypt. One of the things that we have suffered for a very long time is the inaccessibility to areas. And so right now, everything is accessible. In most of the ways, we've built nearly 3,500 miles of roads just in the last 5 years, which is an incredible achievement. And I think that helps out enhancing soft power in front of the world. And that's why Egypt has been chosen as the place to do the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. Good infrastructure enhancement that we're doing. We're leaning towards green tourism and sustainable tourism, and also we're leaning towards kind of a sustainable economy right now. Is that we're trying to explore different areas where we have to increase the GDP of the country and cope with the current crisis, with the past crisis and the current crisis. The past has been the pandemic, which we have went through very successfully, and the new crisis of the conflict and the war right now. So we have to find alternatives, and that's what we're doing right now by getting there and trying to figure out how are we going to get through this?
Yes, indeed. Sir, what about the legislations that are being implemented to further promote and boost this sector, the very important sector which contributes to the Egyptian economy, as you have kindly mentioned?
One of the main elements I know that you've heard about that we are enhancing or putting down a strategy and reshaping that strategy. Again, actually the strategy had been put out first by a consultancy firm in Italy in the year 2009. And
2009?
The first one. Yes. It's the exact same strategy, but what happens is that we went through the events of 2011 and up to 2014. It has been a time where everything has been frozen. The parameter at that time were not the exact same where the strategy was built. The strategy was built on growth and not on having everything frozen. So it had to reshape the strategy one more time based on the current events, based on the post-COVID-19 time. So we had to go back to the same company and tell them, hey,
this doesn't work anymore.
Exactly, it doesn't work right now. We need to rebuild the whole strategy. We need to enhance it so that it copes with what is happening nowadays and what happened the last 2 years, especially in the time of post-COVID-19. So the company went back, and that was in the middle of 2021. The company went back and made like a field study and sat with the stakeholders of the industry and listened to their concerns, and then came back and then tried to do a number of workshops. And then at the end, finally, I think that was like 10 days ago, where they came out and then give out the strategy. And of course, it was laid in front of the Prime Minister. And they went through the strategy, and the strategy is focusing on several axes. One of these important angles or pillars is that fixed legislation, the ones that are handling tourism, like create the right legislation that can make it life easier to enhance and control, and at the same time organize different entities within the tourism industry. And this is why we had that legislation that came out from the parliament a couple of months back. And the second axis was to try to fix the way how different ministries are conflicting with each other when it comes to anything touristic. When it comes for the tourism industry, which I believe the Prime Minister have actually put out, I think, a way how to reactivate the Supreme Council of Tourism again one more time, so it can put out an end for all these different conflicts. Second thing, enhancing the tourism experience for tourists in Egypt by enhancing the infrastructure, by presenting more and more services to private sector, and allowing private sector to invest more into the tourism industry. One of the things also which drove my attention, since I'm working in the field of destination marketing for countries and cities, I can tell you is that they finally recommended adopting a very advanced strategy of marketing, of indirect marketing. In the past, DMOs, destination marketing organizations, they used to go and just do the publicity or the advertising themselves on their own platforms, and saying, hey, come to us, we're nice, we promise to be nice, we are the best place for you, and whatever. So
there was
the new strategy, that's not, is not really working anymore, and it's not 100% effective. So the new strategy is, if you want to advertise yourself, let somebody else do it for you. Do it through a third party. So they always say that people believe, they don't believe what you say about yourself, but they believe what others say about you. So we would, based on this strategy, we would simply go to stakeholders or partners in different exporting destinations of tourism to our country, and simply co-partner with them to do co-marketing together. So we allow the marketing message to go through them about us. So it comes from a third party, which is more of a trusted third party. And this is why the rest of the world nowadays is going through influencers. Because someone else is going to talk, they just talk about you, brand ambassadors, maybe companies that are interested to send you business, but they want to advertise for themselves. And then if you just co-partner with them, they will simply advertise you more, and then show you in a much better, in a win-win situation. You bring me more business, I'll help you, I'll sustain your marketing efforts. And the other thing is that, which was also very remarkable, is that they recommended putting out a lot of efforts into organizing events, international events, whether it's conferences, whether it's gatherings, whether it's incentives, or musical events, gigs, things that are happening by the pyramids, in front of, and this is a trend that we should be taking the lead in this trend in the upcoming year, because this is what other countries have been doing even before COVID and after COVID. I believe that the importance of that is going to be on the double, because they want to bring these bands, they want to bring celebrities, they want to bring important people where they have followers and eyes going to be towards them. In a way, it gives a positive message that we are a very stable destination, we are a very safe destination, we are a hospitable country, and we are able to do such gigs that can take 50,000 people, 100,000 people.
Like the Golden Parade.
Such as the Golden Parade.
The whole world.
Absolutely, exactly. And the Golden Parade, such as the Sphinx Parade, the opening of the Sphinx Avenue, all of these major events that are aired everywhere around the world and have been seen or streamed, in different channels, whether it's online or offline or on a TV, it enhances the soft power of the country and enhances the image and gives us the edge over our other markets, that people say, hey, look at them.
The whole world is talking about.
The whole world is looking at us. And something like opening up the new Grand Egyptian Museum and with all the attention that is going to draw throughout the media is fantastic. We have to use this momentum and just bring all those different famous celebrities all over the world and put them by the pyramids and let them do the gigs and sing and just do whatever projection they're going to do, and laser, and just to make it like a spectacular spectacular shows. Why we're not doing that like when other countries are doing it? And that's what draws the attention. That's how people just simply use the internet nowadays, and your news all over the internet, all over the newspapers everywhere around the world. So you are in podcasts, you are everywhere, and people start talking to you. It draws attention, and then the next level, when they see an advertisement that comes from one of your partners who is speaking on your behalf, then what they would do, they would think about this country. They would move the country from being into the bucket list into the to-do list. It's like, I have to go to Egypt right now. This is not one of my countries that I want to see. I want to see it now. And this is what we want people to do. We want them to come now, and want them to have a great experience and go through a wonderful touristic experience, so that when they go back, they would say, I'm going to come back to you again. That's
and
the way.
they also even spread the word and
spread the word. They become brand ambassadors for you. That's because you have that soft power. You show them hospitality. You show them ease of access. And at the same time, you made them enjoy their time.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Sir, as Dr. Alaa, as an expert, after the work that has been done and the amends, the reshaping and the restructuring of the strategy, how do you see it today as it's ready to be rolled out?
I think having a strategy is better than not having strategy at all. So before 2009, we did have like number of marketing plans, and marketing plan is not a strategy. Strategy is something that has to be concrete and has to be fulfilled and has to be executed in a specific times of year based on the specific time of factors. If you even fulfill them in a shorter year, it's not even a strategy. It has to be in exact same timing, and a strategy is built on access and fixing a few elements before you reach that strategy. So it's a goal that we need to reach. So we didn't have all of these ultimate goals together before 2009, and now we have one, which means having a full strategy, a model where people can follow, whether there is no matter who's been on the seat as a minister or a deputy or someone who is a decision maker. It's a strategy everyone has to follow. It's a model. So this is always a good news, is always a positive thing, because that's a target where people have to reach and have to fulfill. And when they reach the strategy that have been amended now and came out 2021, when they start rebuilding and reshaping it again, and now when it came out just a couple of weeks back, it's supposed to be taking us all the way down to 2030. So in 2009, we didn't have a vision of 2030.
Yes.
So now we'll build up the strategy that goes hand in hand
Egypt's vision.
on the vision of 2030. And then 2030, we're going to revise it again, and then we build up a strategy for 2050. So that's what we're going to be doing. So
a systematic approach that is
strategy
engineered.
Is 100% better. 100% better than having no strategy at all. And I think it is something I praise, and thanks for the effort for the Prime Minister, who has been giving, and our President, of course, and the government. They have been giving tremendous attention to the tourism industry and success of the tourism industry, and giving all the support to enhancing our economy and fixing things amid all of these storms. But I'm saying that to start now is better than to start at all. And so having a strategy for tourism is such a wonderful news for the stakeholders of the industry. And I am very optimistic that the future is going to bring us more and more tourist arrivals.
Indeed, and we have our fingers crossed on that. Dr. Alaa, we have spoken about the successive crises that not only Egypt had faced, but the whole world, the pandemic, and of course the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, and it has taken, of course, its toll on the industry or the sector. How do you see the government's efforts to mitigate these disruptions?
Well, in my opinion, because I'm not a politician, in my opinion, when you are in the mid of a bigger crisis like this, you need to go with the flow first. You need to handle internal problems that may arise because of such a conflict. When you have a shortage of something you're importing from one of these countries, you need to find alternative markets. And if you have a shortage in number of arrivals, for example, for tourism, you need to go to other markets and then increase arrivals on these markets. You need to do more connectivity. I see that we are trying to cope with this in a basis of trying first to get self-sufficient with our production of wheat, and at the same time we're trying to get alternative markets to where we have the shortage of wheat that we needed for the next few months. On the other thing, we are trying to also cope with the rising oil prices. And the other thing, we're also using it for our advantage by exporting natural gas to some European countries. As you know, Russia, because of the conflict, they have had supply cuts to a number of countries who refuse to pay using the Russian ruble. So these countries, they turn around to us, and you can just 3 weeks back, the Polish president was in Egypt forging a deal. Germany came to Egypt also forging a deal. The European Union was also trying to forge a deal from Egypt, not only taking natural gas from Egypt, but getting a number of countries to collaborate, importing natural gas, because Egypt natural gas is not going to be enough for the rest of Europe. So what they do is that they take from other neighboring countries, and then they take from Cyprus, they take from Israel, they take from different countries, and then they take the natural gas, liquidate the natural gas. And we are the only country in the region, by the way, in the southern Mediterranean that have built 2 major stations back in the 90s to liquidate natural gas. Most of the other countries didn't see a necessity for that. So having this means liquidating natural gas means that you'll be able to transport that using ships, because in order to utilize your natural gas, you need to have pipes, and building pipes take years for the construction. So we have to liquidate the natural gas and then move it through ships, and then send it to different markets. But on the other hand, there was a problem on the other side, is that these markets that are recipient of our natural gas, they don't have stations to deliquidate the natural gas, to bring it back to its gas form, which is a very complicated process. So right nowadays, if you Germany and Holland and other countries, they're actually speeding up processes of building these different stations, and they found alternatively floating stations that deliquidate the natural gas and then bring it back to these markets. So I think in the next few months we'll be able to send them a lot of shipments, and that will be enhancing our economy. I think in the next few months that a lot of European travelers are going to come to Egypt as the preferred country of choice. We have the Red Sea, we have the sun. That's why we have Follow the Sun campaign, a couple of months back, which have been very successful, and thanks to the effort of the entire sector that kept it as successful. We're a country. We have the sun, we have the sea, we have the relaxation, we have the hotels, we have the infrastructure. Compared to the rest of the African countries, compared to other countries in our region, I think we have a very good infrastructure for tourism. We have the right places of accommodation and enhancing transportation. This is why we're doing the right infrastructure to build up roads and do training, for people working in the tourism industry. So all of these different elements, I think, is like a good alternative to the crisis nowadays. If you ask me how long the crisis is going to be lasting, I would tell you that in my opinion, started back in February, it would last nearly a month or 2 more, and that's it. It's not going to last anymore, because it's not affecting a country or 2 or 3. It's affecting the entire world, even for the countries that impose the sanctions on the conflict. So I would think things are going to come back. People have not been traveling for the last 2 years, and they're so eager to travel, no matter if there is a conflict or anywhere.
Yes.
I think Egypt is a stable country. I think good news coming out from our destination towards their way. More advertisement, more image enhancing. It will
Dr.
make
also
us-
on a positive note, sorry to jump in,
Sure, no.
the UK's Daily Mail has selected Egypt as one of the best destinations in 2021-2022 season. How do you see this would impact the tourism industry?
Of course, it's a great news for the tourism industry that the British travelers are coming back to Egypt, and you have no idea. Cities such as Sharm el-Sheikh or Hurghada or Luxor or Aswan, they have had a great portion of British travelers coming to them on yearly basis, and charter flights come from all over the UK. And because of the closure of the pandemic, because of the COVID pandemic, we did not get British tourists all this time. So coming back to Egypt, it's always a good and positive news. And I was talking to just a couple of days back to one of the organizers for a touristic experience in Sharm el-Sheikh, who's doing like stargazing, you know, they go out in the desert and everything.
Yes.
And I was asking him how was the 2 years before, and he said that business was never being good enough, even with the number of all other nationalities without the British travelers. And I said, why? They said because they are the type of travelers that are interested to explore and do all of these different optional activities. And when they start coming back, it's the beginning of this year, British tourists start coming back to Sharm el-Sheikh. He felt that things are reviving again. He's coming back, and
The
his
nightmare
economies
is over.
are coming back. Shops are open. You know, different markets are delighted that those number of British tourists are replacing the Russian tourists and the Ukrainian tourists, where the number decreased because of the war and the conflict.
Yes. Dr. Alaa, the Gate Travel Expo is taking place in September. How do you see this, another also an important event Egypt is bracing for? How do you see this and its effect on the sector?
Having a travel expo in Egypt, whether in a touristic town or whether in the capital, it's always good news because it's a magnet. It can allow buyers to come. In the tourism industry, you get countries that are receiving tourists and countries that are sending out tourists, and countries that are doing both. And those who are actually doing outbound tourism, the tour operators, we call them buyers because they go and buy the product of someone else. So those people, when they get the opportunity to come on a travel fair like this and sit with the suppliers or sit with our local travel agencies, it's always a good opportunity of exposure. So we will be able to expose new products and new
discover
pattern of
new markets.
touristics and markets and towns, and it's always good to know where the updates and the news and how many hotels have been reopened, how many hotels have been refurbished, and all of that, and then forging these deals not for 2022, it could be 2023, 2024. Nowadays people are printing their brochures, whether they're making them electronic or whether they're making them as a printed version, but at least there is something there that it says that this resort is up and running, this town is up and running, you know, we have a connectivity charter flight from here to there. So it's always a good news to bring people over here, let them experience and see the country and sit with their counterparts.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Alaa, there has been back-to-back and successive very significant and pivotal archaeological discoveries in Egypt that were announced under the or the efforts of the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. Also, how do you see this, its ramifications on the sector?
If you go through different channels in any TV and you flip through the channels, most of the channels nowadays either have got movies or films or they have documentaries. And on a basis of a study, that they found that the viewers, they mostly prefer to see documentaries, were the ones that are talking about Earth or talking about history and so on. Then they found out that the number of people viewing documentary channels such as Discovery Channel or National Geographic is huge. Why? Because they allow this kind of thrill and suspense. When you hear of a discovery of a new tomb that has been taking footage and getting things that are explored and discovered 3,000 or 4,000 years in age, it's so thrilling. It hits, you know, news, and it's normally like the anchor news. It's like the first ones. Why? Because it's a big thing. It's a big discovery. Egypt, as a historical place of the world, is the mother of the world in terms of history. We're posting a civilization more than 5,000 years old. So we have amazing history and archaeological sites. And when you find a country that has quarter or one-third of the archaeological sites in the world, a whole country like this, when you hear of a discovery that comes out of Saqqara or Luxor or here and there, of course it becomes like #1 news all over. And then we use the momentum, and then we have another event following by. So we create what we call an agenda. Like this month is going to be the month of discovery. Next month is going to be the month of following up, you know, on a big project. And not only that we have discoveries, but we also have stories that are talking about earlier discoveries. Do you know that this year, where we are, is the 100-year anniversary of the Tutankhamun's discovery?
Yes, indeed.
So imagine that the 22nd of November this year, the whole world's going to celebrate 100 years anniversary of the discovery of the tomb of King Tutankhamun. The tomb of King Tutankhamun that yielded 5,000 pieces of artifacts and objects, and the most intact tomb ever found in from ancient Egypt as a royal tomb. Amazing. Yes, indeed. Everyone wants to come and see it. Everyone wants to live the story. Everyone. And there's a lot of things, but I don't think we have the time to tell you.
Also, sir, another kind of tourism that Egypt has exploited or made a milestone in is the exhibition or the conference tourism. We have seen several series of the World Youth Forum bringing together youth from across the world, and also high-ranking officials and world leaders. Do you think that we have the potential to further build on this success?
Absolutely, absolutely. Remember, that's not the first time we do this. We have done before the population conference, the World Population Conference by the United Nations, 17,000 people. Yes. And we have done the peace conferences in Sharm el-Sheikh before. So we've been engaged in a number of international conferences before, but it is an excellent pattern of enhancing soft power of the country and also bringing out attention to Egypt and Egyptian towns and resorts. But I have also to tell you that this goes hand in hand with Egypt hosting a number of events. Yes. Not only as an internal events, and we will be able to take events such as sports events, film festivals, diversity of events, music. Nowadays, the most important thing that people are doing, and I'm saying this for those who are actually promoting tourism in Egypt, because I built up marketing plans myself, you know, for other countries to promote, and I put down strategies. And one of the things that I've noticed always that bring the best results is that when you get celebrities and talents from all over the world and you bring them to your destination and convince them to do a big gig or to start a world tour or you put them in a very special historical places and they just feel the glory and they just take the shots and take that whole thing, you know, into perspective, and it becomes part of their history. It draws attention of millions of people in one time. It saves you millions of dollars of advertisement because it becomes as a free advertisement. You know, you bring a top celebrity or top singer, an influencer, and just put them there, put a stage and just say, hey, what do you want? You want us to promote your entire show, to produce it? We'll do it. But just bring your followers with you. The minimum number of followers for those people, like 60 million people in YouTube.
That's
you know,
huge.
can you imagine?
Yeah.
It's like you are all over the news. You are in streaming channels. You are in metaverse. You are everywhere. How much did he pay to do that? I mean, it would save you millions of dollars.
Yes, indeed.
So embracing this kind of event policy will bring us to a stage where we will enhance the soft image or soft power of Egypt. Soft power of Egypt is the most important thing. This country needs to, soft power to be reinstated again. People will start to fall in love. Like nowadays, people go back and they say, hey, I love your country, I love your hospitality, I love the air, I love the weather, and I want to come back one day, and you know what, I'm going to go back and bring... I had a situation where I saw a lady who got so fascinated, been dreaming to come to Egypt, and then she decided she's going to go back and come the next week to bring her husband. It's like, to this level, people just don't want to miss the chance. So if you bring thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people in order to see, a bigger thing like the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum, or attending a big gig from the panorama of the pyramids, or sitting in front of the Sphinx and hearing the stories, people will always remember that.
Yes.
And they will always go back into their families and to their children. So Egypt has always been long remembered.
Dr. Alaa, two key moments.
Yes.
The inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum and COP 27, which is lined up for November in the city of love and peace, Sharm el-Sheikh. Your advice to the decision makers as an expert on how to build on to capitalize on these key moments in favor of the sector reviving and boosting this very vital and integral sector of the Egyptian economy?
I would say, in my opinion, it's not going to be an advice, it's going to be like a suggestion. Countries that are keeping the momentum and the buzz alive, they always get a better share of the global market of tourism. How? By building out an agenda of events. So let's say in November we have those two events. We have the opening of hypothetically speaking, maybe the museum will be open in November, which I assume they may be opening up with the Tutankhamun's celebration.
Yes, to coincide
so
with the 100th
maybe it coincides. Maybe we'll do it as two separate events. Maybe it will come 1 week after. So let's say November. End of November, we have Tutankhamun's. We have also the COP 27. And we maybe have the next month, the museum. And then maybe in December we have the Christmas and New Year. Then we can bring like a big gig, by the pyramids and people, like we did with the Sharm el-Sheikh one time, Yes. And then in January we do another event, and in February we do another one, and then so on and so forth. So we have like a full agenda of events, and with the variations in different segments and different industries, or could be also focused on the same industry. But this will always bring positive news from the destination, at the same time bring the constant flow of people coming, and also draw their attention, because there are stakeholders. There are people who are producing these shows, and they want people to come. So they spend more money for marketing. So instead of us spending much more money, we let others spend for us.
Yes.
And so countries that always have had like this one whole year-round agenda of events have had a bigger share of the global market of inbound tourism.
Yes. Indeed, we really appreciate your insight, and thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Alaa,
It's a pleasure.
international tourism and marketing expert. Thank you so much for being with us on To The Point.
It's a pleasure.
The pleasure is all ours, sir.
Thank you.
And dear viewers, by this we wrap up tonight's episode of To The Point live on Nile TV International. Thank you so much for watching. Until we meet again, this goodbye.